was like, I have to sell this because I am not doing AHIP. Like I am not doing AHIP for next year. So like I have to sell this. That was like the reason behind it because it was a fine income for me and it wasn't really taking that much time. But I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. So, anyways,
Yeah.
so started the annuity side and then just transitioned into training agents and a training platform, and then now I've just developed into just a bunch of stuff. So I am involved to the nth degree inside of the annuity world and now in the finance side really diving into just so much more than annuities these days with the network that we're building. Just learning so much right now, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your journey to me is one of the more interesting ones to me because I've gotten to witness a bit, quite a bit of it over the years,
Most,
just
probably all of it. Probably all of it.
probably the majority of it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's been, I mean, it's been longer than I think I realized. I think time flies faster than we might think. It's probably realistically been like 4 or 5 years now, that kind of thing that
Yep.
we've been connected, we've
Five.
been friends. What is the what was the driving force for you to make the shift from Medicare to annuities? What was the real like the light bulb moment that you're like, oh shoot, like I just need to lean into this. I'm really enjoying this. This is a better pathway for me going forward.
Yeah, so I've been asked this. You've probably asked this before, and I've kind of given it more generic, kind of like 10,000 foot overview. But I think specifically, the first part of it was monetary. It was I saw the big commissions with annuities and was like, well, that's kind of cool, and that was a motivator. And I in the past have always been motivated by money, and what a lot of people that are motivated by money, it's normally stems from not having it, right? And this isn't me trying to sound cocky or anything, but I have it now, so I'm not as motivated by it, or at least I have enough to where I'm comfortable. Granted, you
Yeah.
could always have more, but I'm not. I just don't feel like it motivates me as much anymore. So I have to find others. But yeah, I mean, I grew up super poor, and so to go get a paycheck of you know 15 to $20,000 for a sale was just wild to me. And so all it took was one. It took one sale, and it wasn't even that big of a sale. It was when I was with a captive agency, and I made $3,500, and I was just like, that's like 2 months of income for me, or whatever, a month of income at the time. So it was wild to me. It's like, I want to do more of that. That's a lot of Medicare people I got to go talk to do that. And then it's just kind of stemmed into, okay, this is, now it was like a $15,000 or 10 and then 15 and 20. And then I remember the first time I sold $1 million annuity with a guy and, we split, 80,000 bucks between the two of us. And it was like, okay, well, this is freaking crazy. It almost felt like criminal. I was like, people can really get paid this much to do this type of stuff. So it was wild, but started as that. But then what really was the factor to make the change to do it full time, that was more like implementing a little bit of it. Was I went to 8%, I went to a conference and I was listening to a breakout session that somebody was doing there. And I thought to myself, this person does not know as much as I do, and it was probably in a super cocky way, but now that I look back at it, it was true. That person did not. And they're sitting here training like 100 agents on
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, what? Like if and this person was like a $15 million a year producer. And I'm like, well, what the frick? How come I'm not doing that? I mean, they're making $1 million a year in commission. And I'm sitting here making, pretty good money, but not $1 million.
Yeah.
So that was like I am pretty sure I can do this, so let's set myself up to be able to do it. So that was that shift of like, okay, let's make a change. And then the next step to that was, I started to make those changes and started teaching and training and going to events and stuff. And I got called out by some social media people that were like, well, we don't think you are as high of a producer as you say you are, which by the way, at that time, I never told a soul how much I produced. Never. I just said, I produced. So people had no idea how much it was. It doesn't matter if it was 500,000 a year or if it was 5 million a year. People didn't know. And so that I did a challenge, and I did a challenge in September of 2021 to see how much I could produce if I did full time in a month, and crushed it. And then that was my pole vault into full time annuities.
Got it. Got it. And do you remember what your production looked like at the end of the challenge?
It was 2.8 million, and then I did two IULs. Definitely at the time, it sucks that I have to admit this, but I was definitely selling the wrong product, and it was a very high commissionable product, and I had a very good commission on it. So I ended up, grossing about 300,000 in commission from it.
Not bad for a month. Not bad for a month, right?
Not bad. Now, granted, I didn't get paid on it. It takes a while to get paid on stuff. So, it's probably over the next 3 months I got paid on it. But yes, it was, 300,000 in commission issued or submitted that month. So, yep,
Yeah.
still one of my better months I've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think challenges like that are really fun. I remember when Pete Fournier did his life insurance challenge, his 100,000 in
Yeah.
premium right in a month thing. And, I was like, I remember at the time, this was probably like 2 years ago now, 3 years ago now. And I was like, I wonder if I can do 100 Medicare apps in a month in like the summer, like outside of AEP, outside of OEP. I'm like, and I had kind of stopped selling at this point. And I was like, but of course I could still do it. And I think I ended up with like 55, so I wasn't anywhere close in the challenge, but the content was still phenomenal, and like it was fantastic content. And of course, personally go out there, you write 50 to 100 new clients a month. That's always good for your business too. Got me start thinking, I'm like, maybe I should do this like every month. I'm like, I don't know, put up 600, 700 apps a year again.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, those challenges are always fun, but they certainly are draining by the end of them. That's for sure. That's what I remember. I
Um,
remember being like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah. You can't. I always I actually tell people that I will never do that again. No, I've had months that were bigger than that, but from a commission standpoint, but no, I've not had a month that was anywhere near the time and energy that was spent that month. I'm not even close. That month was the hardest month I've ever had working in my life and probably will be for the rest of my life. I mean, I was driving, 4.5 hours to go see people, to go write as much of that business that I possibly could. I was dialing from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., booking appointments. I remember going to an appointment, sitting down at like 9 p.m. That was 4 hours away from my home, and I was not getting a hotel room. I'm getting home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Just so stupid. I mean, think of it, think of a time frame of like what's the most you could actually you could physically work in a month or in a week. And I'm not kidding you, man. I'm probably working 100 hours, every week. If I mean, I'd have to go back and kind of think about it, but crazy days. I mean, 20-hour days, just wild stuff. So yeah, I was a mess. I was a mess. Hurt my marriage bad. My wife wanted to kill me afterwards, just
yeah,
totally ignored her. Just was like, honey, I want to get this done. And it was rough, dude. It was rough, but I had a goal. I met it. Wouldn't do it again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Understood, understood. Like at the time, when I was doing my challenge, we had made the decision we were going to try to change FMOs too. So we were trying to do that in the middle of it, and that definitely fucked it up a little bit. But and
Yeah,
ultimately
dude.
it didn't end up happening. We ended up working things out, but like we got halfway through it in the middle of the month, and it was just, yeah. I mean, I remember just being like, it's too much. It's too much. Like, why did I do this
Yeah.
to myself?
Yeah.
But sometimes like I mean, guys like us, I think sometimes will bite off more than we can chew. It's just, but
All
it's
the time.
it's it's sometimes how you have to do things like that at certain parts of your career, I think, to get where you need to get to. But um, so question that I have for you is, at this point now, you have a super high intent, a super high, and I guess not intent, but a super high collective of people that are essentially paying every month to learn from you about annuities and everything like that. You've worked with a
Yep.
lot of agents and a lot of financial planners and just people on the annuity game now over the years. Like you've seen, I'm sure, a multitude of different scenarios. What does it take for somebody to be successful selling annuities? Like what are some things that people have to know? Like if you want to kill it selling annuities, like this is what you need to know. This is what you have to do, and these are characteristics you need to have.
I'm going to change your question because your question, there's a lot of ways you can be successful selling annuities. I'm going to change it to how can you be successful selling annuities the right way? Okay.
Mm.
And that's the that's the big one here is a
Yeah.
lot of people do it the wrong way. And this isn't me on my high horse trying to be all high and mighty, saying that I know oh so much more than anybody else, because I know that's how some people are going to take this. But I think the experience that I have, and I guess the name I've built for myself, definitely speaks for itself. I do the mission that I'm on to do things in the most moral and ethical and educational way is it is like a train that can't be stopped and nobody's going to get in my way. And it is such a passion of mine because I'm trying to show that you can do this without being greedy. You can do this with being moral. You can do this without having to have all these certifications. You just have to have the right, and here's the answer to your question, you just have to have the right training. You just
Mm.
have to have the right education base. You just have to have the right knowledge because my whole process these days is literally regurgitating education. It's me learning something, teaching that to a client, reasonably articulating that and dumbing it down. Not dumbing it down. I hate that terminology. Clients aren't dumb, but making it simple, but not too simple. I'm not going to remove the bad sides of the annuity just to make a sale. I'm going to tell you all about the bad side, but it's always a trade-off, right? So if you understand how you can trade X for Y, and that's solving a specific problem for you, and I can reasonably articulate that to you, then you make that decision yourself. So if you can follow that process of just being an educator, and there's definitely some sales stuff in there too, you can be wildly successful. Okay. So what does it take? It just takes you're in the desert and you are the most thirsty, you know, hungry you've ever been. And just think of that as that's how you are with knowledge and you are dying to get more. And if you can have that passion for it, you'll be super successful. And that's how I do it, but I've seen it with other agents as well. The ones that just,
Yeah.
they come to me and they ask about commissions. It's like, yeah, get out of here. It's like, I want to go sell annuities. Why? Because there's all these commissions. And you almost have to dig into that a little bit. It's not always like, get out of here right off the bat, but it's like, okay, I get it. But like, do you actually have a passion to help people? Right. Because if that's like your single motivator, and I've said this probably a billion times now, money is definitely the fastest runner out there, and you will never catch it. It'll always run faster than you, right? So don't try, just go do the right thing. And doing the right thing, ignorance is not a defense against that, right? So like you don't know what you don't know. If you think you're doing the right thing and you're not doing the right thing, sorry, you're still doing the wrong thing. So how do you put yourself in a position where you can avoid that? Knowledge, 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 knowledge. Okay. You
Yeah.
can't go say, hey, Mr. Officer, sorry, I didn't know that was a breaking the law. Doesn't matter. You're still going to jail,
Hmm.
right? There's a reasonable expectation, and everything in life has this reasonable expectation. And unfortunately, I just said everything in life. Unfortunately, with the annuity side, it's complex, and sometimes it's not a reasonable expectation. You have to really be proactive. So that's what I've seen with agents is the ones that are proactive and they want to learn and they have this thirst for knowledge that's just unquenched. They are successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it makes a ton of sense. I mean, and I think, you can spot questions that are red flags, I think too, right? Like I think you touched on that a little bit about like if an agent comes in and like the only thing they're concerned about is their commission level or anything like that. Like I know for our side as well, if I have a conversation with an agent and that's really the only thing they want to know, and let's say they're brand new, like if they're established and they know things and like maybe I can understand it a little bit more, because like they don't need me to teach them anything, but maybe they could use a comp bump. That's a different story. But like if you're brand new,
Definitely.
you just got your license, like, and that's all you want to know, I'm like, or like, or the other one I get all the time is like, can I get some free leads? Like I think I need some free leads. And I'm like, I mean, we own a lead company now, but I'm still not giving you free leads, like,
Yeah,
like because I mean, what is that saying in Glengarry Glen Ross? To give them to you would just be throwing them away, you know?
that's right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's interesting because you you see the same you have the same conversations with different people over and over and over again. And sometimes they're the right conversations and sometimes they're the wrong conversations with kind of where their focus is at, which is
Absolutely.
kind of interesting. One thing I wanted to ask you, right? So you mentioned 8%, kind of
Yeah.
going to 8% early on in your career. What is your opinion these days on events? I know you've been pretty vocal about events. I mean, I want to hear you. I want the audience to hear your honest perspective on it. So you
Sure.
won't offend me, you won't upset me or anything like that, but on what you're saying. But I think it's a good conversation to have because there are a lot of events these days, right? And like
Right.
if an agent wanted to, they could probably go to one or two or three events every month all year round and do nothing but go to events. Talk about it a little bit. What does Tracy think
Yeah.
about events 2024?
So I think context here for those of you who don't know, Christian Brindle puts on an event, and it's called what, Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit now, right?
Yes, yes, we
And I've
graduated.
been there and I've spoke there, and unfortunately this last one was not great for me because I got sick, which sucked. So I've been to a lot of them, right? I've been to yours, I've been to JB's, I've been to Cody's, I've been to some financial ones now, multiple, probably, I've been carrier events, big carrier events, big, IMO and BGA and NMO events. I don't know, probably in the tune of like 15 to 20 of them now, and spoke as well, spoke on some smaller stages, some larger stages, in even virtual events. And I'll say this, what I got from these events was connections, right? So just putting a face to the name. A lot of people look at these and like you get connections, but only on like a friendship level. And if you're doing that, that's a really freaking expensive friendship to start, right? Because they're
Hmm.
not cheap. And especially if you're paying to go there and train agents.
I am a tremendous fan of Medicare pre-scheduled appointments, and I'm going to tell you why. Usually with a lead. What a lead is, in my definition, is a person that's expressed vague interest in your product or service that you offer in some form or fashion. It could be someone filling out a landing page form. It could be someone filling out something on a Facebook ad or social media form. It could be somebody filling out a direct mail postcard and mailing it back into you. There's many different ways a lead could be captured. But to me, by definition, a lead is a person expressing vague interest in your product or service. Okay. Now people will say, well, someone called into my office yesterday and it was a referral. And that was more than vague interest. To me, that's not a lead. By definition, to me, that's a referral. That's a new client. That's a lay down. But when it comes to actual leads, there usually is vague interest because you're running an advertisement and the advertisement doesn't always necessarily tell them everything they need to know to make an informed decision. And you need to essentially move that vague interest to enough interest to transact with you. That's where your salesmanship comes into play, okay? Now, the reason why I love a pre-scheduled appointment is because, to me, I think there's going to be different levels to this game, right? There's going to be different levels to the lead game, the referral game, the new client game. So, like, if, let's say, a cold call's here, the bottom of the totem pole, right? Like it's as cold as ice. It's ice age, my friends. It's as low on this totem pole of interest and intent as it's going to get. I would say a lead is going to be here. Now, certain leads can vary, right? Some leads are higher intent than others, but at the end of the day, they're going to live in this section right here. I would put a pre-scheduled appointment here, and I'd put something incredibly warm like a referral here, right? So I'd say the pre-scheduled appointment is not going to be a situation where you're taking an order. It's not going to be a situation where you are essentially just signing somebody up and you're going to close 100% of them, but it is a better intent contact than a lead in and of itself, right? So there's plenty of services out there that do pre-scheduled appointments, and oftentimes, you look at their prices and it's like, whoa, Nelly. To me, there is no better pre-scheduled appointment in terms of price, intent, and value than the Lead Heroes pre-scheduled appointment, okay? Even before we merged with Lead Heroes, I was a customer of theirs for many years. And I assure you, I wasn't just buying these leads and these pre-scheduled appointments because I liked them. Of course, I did like them, but I wasn't doing it just because I liked them, right? I don't like anybody that much to where I'm going to keep spending money if something's not working properly, right, in my business. And so we have had super success with Lead Heroes leads, in particularly these new pre-scheduled appointments. How they work is essentially they are an opt-in, right? They're an opt-in that somebody has essentially agreed to be contacted. Okay, so the person's already filled out a form stating they agreed to be contacted. One of the Lead Hero lead callers will make an outbound call to this person who agreed to be opt-in. There's permission to contact, okay? And they will talk to them, and essentially they will keep doing that until they find somebody that gives verbal consent over a recorded line to speak with an agent in their area, or maybe just an agent in general. These can be face-to-face, guys. These can be over the phone. Of course, face-to-face costs a little bit more because they cost a little bit more to generate. And they also run through a CMS-approved carrier scope of appointment script and capture a verbal script over the phone. They schedule it on your calendar 48 hours later, okay? So we did these in AEP before the merger as a customer, as a client agency, and we did fairly well with them. And I know tons of agents that did fairly well with them. It was a huge hot product, especially with the scope of appointment 48-hour rule coming back and taking effect October 1st of last year, 2023, right? So this is a solution to your scope of appointment 48-hour woes, okay? They capture the scope. They set it on your calendar 48 hours later, and boom, right? You can literally do a one-call application in this certain type of situation, okay? So I'm a big fan of pre-scheduled appointments. I'm a big fan of these presets. I feel like there is not anybody that comes close to the quality, to the value, and to the overall prices that are being offered right now through Lead Heroes, okay? I'm also making this video to let you know these pre-scheduled appointments are on sale right now. They're on a significant sale until the end of January. We're actually going to throw a link down in the description of this video. If you guys would like to see me do a training, maybe a 45-minute training, an hour-long training on actually how to work these, what script to use, and best practices to getting the best use and results out of your Lead Hero pre-scheduled appointments, let me know. Comment down in the comment section if you'd like to see me make and create that training for you, and we'll put it up for free on the YouTube channel for everybody to see. But if you're looking for lead flow, you're looking for lead flow to really have a really dynamite and a banging OEP, Lead Hero pre-scheduled appointments are where it's at. You guys need to take advantage of this, and we have a monster sale going on until the end of the month. Remember, cold call, lead, preset, referral, right? So the preset is a higher quality than a lead. It's as good as it gets in terms of quality, and I think you guys are going to really be pleased with the results that you'll find with these pre-scheduled appointments. So make sure that you get your orders in. There's only 5,000 actual appointments that are available in this sale, and then there won't be any more. Why? Because the demand is so high that that's all that the staff is going to be able to keep up with, right? And so it's not going to last forever. Once the 5,000 are sold out, they're sold out, and we'll have to close it until a little bit more availability opens up. So get your orders in, pre-scheduled appointments. I'm all about them. Pre-scheduled appointments are where it's at for 2024. And yeah, guys, I hope this helps you out tremendously. I hope it helps you like it helped our business during AEP last year. It was a great lead source for us. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Like this video if you like it. Again, comment your thoughts on down below in this video. I want to interact with you. Let us know if you want me to create and film that training for you. No strings attached. It's essentially how to succeed with preset appointments, how to work on best practices, everything like that. Make sure to subscribe. We put out weekly videos. And thanks so much for watching, guys. Here's to your success and your abundance. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
You have to go with the intent that you want to get a very specific something out of it, right? So if I go to a Medicare event, I need to go there and have a list of things that I am sucking at, right? And I'm going to go find people and I'm going to pick their brain to get as much possible out of that event as I can, so that they can help me solve parts of my business problems. I think what a lot of these events And it's not the event fault by any means. It's the people that go. Is people go for social.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think that's a secondary or even tertiary benefit. Is not a primary benefit, right? Um, and also something I made the mistake of in the past was ego, is going to an event because people knew who I was. And it felt good knowing that people would come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Tracy," right? That felt
Mhm.
good. Tell me it doesn't. Feels
It
good.
does. It does. Yeah.
Boost
I
your
mean,
ego, right?
it's a weird, it's an interesting dynamic. I remember the first Medicare con was the first of Medicare event I went to. And what blew me away was how many people knew who I was. I was not expecting that. Like, it's because it's not your normal everyday life. Like your normal everyday life, you run your company, you do your business, you work with clients, you do things like that. You go to those and it's like, you know, for people like you and me, people are like, you know, you might have 100 or 150 people come up to you by the end of it and be like, I watched this you did. I read this. I listened to this. You helped me with this. You talked to me about this. And it's like, it's a blur by the end of it, but it's an ego boost a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's good. It's good and bad, but it's like, okay, it's almost like that's a benefit and that's a feel good and it's cool, but like, what am I really getting out of it? Right. So
Yeah.
like when you go to an event and you're giving more than you're taking, you should probably start going to another event. Right. And so to answer your question, to go back to it, I got to that point and it just wasn't benefiting me anymore. It was more of me doing services for other people. Right. Which I like to support events that I know will help people, but it gets to a point in your life where it's like, when am I ever going to benefit from this ever? And it's unless you really have something to sell or whatever. And I just don't, man. I don't sell our course. Like it's very reactive. I'll make like little posts here and there, or I'll go to an event and then set up a booth or whatever. But like I'm not doing it to the ability of making money off it. My course, it makes pretty good money for me now, but like the amount of money I have into it, I'm still not break even on it. I have $250,000 into it and it hasn't made me $250,000 yet. Right. So, to look at that, it's like, it's such a terrible financial play for me. So I got to get in a different room, and with me, it's different though, right? A lot of people that are listening to this, they're going to be in the Medicare space. So if you're in the Medicare space, go. You just need to go find the people that you want to learn from. Don't just rub shoulders with them and be buddy buddy with them. That's great, but be proactive with like finding something that they can teach you. Get them liquored up. They'll tell you everything under the sun, right?
They'll spill it
So
all.
that's right. Maybe spill their drink too, too much liquor. So for me, I'm in the finance space now. It's not the same. We made like a transition from Medicare to Medicare and finance, and now we're pretty much all in the finance space. I want almost nothing to do with the Medicare space. So that's just me. That's my experience. So take that for what you have it. And if you find yourself in a room not learning, it's because of one of two things. One, you're in the wrong room. Two, it's you. So
Yep.
if it's you, stop going or start being more proactive. So you can't blame anybody else. And I used to do that, by the way. I used to, go to an event, come back and say, what the hell happened? What did I learn? I just spent, I won't say the event. We might have already mentioned it, but I just spent, $10,000, not yours, $10,000 on a fire ticket and a speaking gig. Yeah. And I what the hell did I just get out of it? Right. I had nothing to sell. If I did, I didn't sell anything. I made some connections, but those aren't going to make me any money. Connections with people that just want to pick my brain. It's just what happened? And not to mention, it's not the $10,000 you spent. It's the weekend you spent away from family. It's the weekend you spent away from producing. It's the week time. You will never get that time back ever.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah.
that's how I see events.
I think it's a great point, because it is the time. It's the time to get on the plane, sit on the plane, fly out there. And my take on it today is like, because I'm not going to nearly the events that I used to. 2 years ago, I was going to 6, 7, 8, 9 events a year, and because I was invited to speak at a bunch of them. This year, I'm going to 2 that's not our own. you know? And I think, to me, I think for most agents, like if you're going to go to an event, like you probably are okay just going to one, maybe two, but I don't think you need to go to like six, like
No.
not to mention, I don't think this is the case so much anymore, but there was a point in time where you could go to 5 events and you'd see 75% the same speakers at all the events.
Same people. Yep.
I don't think you're seeing that as much, which I think is good. I think it's, new speakers, new content, new information, that kind of thing. But like, yeah, I think it's a very fair point. And not all events are created equal either. And I'm not saying that ours is better than anybody else's or anything like that, but there are events out there that the event is designed to sell you something. The event is the speakers on the stage are all spending exuberant amounts of money to pay. And there's several events that are like that. I'm not picking on any one in particular, but yeah, it's interesting. Like once you really start to go and you start to realize what the game is for a lot of these events, it's like, oh, like I paid to get in the room so they could try to get me to pay to get into a different room. And it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Yep. Talk a little bit about the Facebook groups a little bit, because you had some interesting moments in the Facebook groups the last like year or so.
You could say that.
What do you think is the truth behind the Facebook groups? Like, are there value? Of course, I think to say there's not value in them, I don't think that's true. But like, what do you think is the truth behind them? Is there less value in them that maybe people might have thought originally, or are they helpful, but you have to see the forest for the trees? Like, what is your thoughts on Facebook groups these days? Obviously, you run one, so I know you have some thoughts from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I'll give both. So I can blanket statement and just say that I would not be where I am at or even near where I'm at without them. I give a lot of benefit to even ones that I am banned from now. I give a lot of benefit to those that I learned so much from, was able to ask questions, get somewhat good answers. Going back to it, you got to really filter through some of that. Some of the answers are really bad, but I think if you use them as a tool, and they're run to be a tool, they're invaluable. You get a bunch of heads together, and as long as everybody has the same, mindset from the perspective of doing the right thing and helping clients, they're great. And most of them are free. Ours is not anymore. That's a phenomenal tool. I almost say it's better than an IMO or FMO. You can go to a Facebook group and get better answers and more answers than go into an FMO, and even better perspectives. So
and
it's
faster
like
faster answers.
And faster, right? And you've kind of created your own little, I don't know, database, right? So I love them, but I also hate them. Okay. And so the hate comes from misinformation. The hate comes from trying to sell you stuff all the time. Like when a Facebook group is not ran properly, and this is what I learned from like yours and not yours is not run properly, but this is what I learned from yours and a lot of other ones out there is how to run a Facebook group, right? So what's the big one out there? Life Insurance Agents Group, I think is what's called, used to have like 180,000 people in it. I think it was one of the largest ones out there.
Yeah.
And then it was taken away. So it was ran by a leads company, right? So a leads company could give a crap less as to, their volume, right? They just want as many people as in there as possible. They're selling leads. So it was horrible, like absolute horrendous. The amount of misinformation that was just able to be shared, right? Another one I'll throw out there is the Insurance Soup Group, right? Mike did a really terrible job for a lot of years at running that thing in a way that was, again, misinformation. It was just a toxic environment. A lot of these groups are just so toxic. You can say whatever the hell you want to somebody else and it didn't matter. You could call them any name under the sun. There's no respect, right? And the problem with social media is everybody feels as though they have an opinion. Well, everybody does, but they can voice it with no repercussions, right?
Yep.
So that's a problem with those types of groups. And it's been in other groups too. But as soon as you get to the more boutique groups, boutique, boo, right? Boo, like boo-hoo.
I think it's boo.
I think it's boo.
If it's not boo, I'm off.
Yeah, me too. You get to the more boutique groups, you're 15,000 or less, 10,000 or less, Now you get into, hopefully, if it's run properly, probably more niched, better quality. And then you really start to get down into like, when you get into even smaller groups than that are run properly, they really do want to help, right? So like I love your group because people ask questions and they'll get good answers. And when they don't get good answers, there's admins and they'll either delete comments or they'll manage it. And I actually learned a lot of that from your group back when it was only like 2,000 people in there. You were running it pretty good, but also it was probably like a full-time job for you, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it still is, but when we started ours, and it was, we got a lot of the same people because we were able to share it in your group and some other ones. We got a lot of the same people, but when we started ours, it was, it grew to almost 5,000 people in the matter of like a year and a half. And we kicked out like 10,000 people out of the group. So like kicked out, banned, or denied like 10,000. And when I say we, dude, it was me. I was the only admin in the group for a long time. And then my assistant's helping me now. So it was only me. So I was reading every comment. I was reading every post. When people wanted to join the group, I was looking at every damn profile to see if it was like, okay, that's clearly not a real person. I wanted it to be something that was special in a way where somebody could come in. They weren't being sold anything. They were just there to learn and ask questions and be respectful. And as soon as somebody wasn't respectful, dude, they're gone,
Yeah.
And I have that problem sometimes. Sometimes I come across as an asshole. And it's more just because I'm sarcastic. But I have to almost like learn that in my own group. It's like, okay, you got to be careful what you say, right? So sometimes people are just being sarcastic. But dude, if somebody just comes across as just a jerk, somebody asks a question and they're like, oh, you idiot, how come you didn't? Done. Not a warning, not nothing. You're gone, because I don't want that toxicity in my group, right? You're not helping anybody. I kicked out a guy named Joel Johnson out of my group. Joel Johnson is the largest annuity producer in the entire nation. Okay. He's Advisor Excel's largest producer. Okay. His firm does like 200 million in annuities a year. And I kicked him out of my group. Okay. And got a mouthful. Lots of other, big producers. Why? Because you're an asshole and I don't care. Right. Don't be an asshole. Be a good person. So my perspective on these from both sides is, love them and hate them. I love the groups that are designed to help agents. I don't care if you sell stuff. That's cool. That's fine. As long as it's not the only thing happening in the group, then you're providing value first, right? People want to start these groups. They want to sell or market or whatever. It's like, well, what value? Who are you? What value have you provided to me other than like some montage highlight of how awesome you are? Like, no, I want to see it. I want to see you give without anything in return. Although that's a marketing tactic, but to do it because you're a good person, and that just comes back to you. Now, there's only so many hours in a day, right? So you get to that point where you can't keep doing that all the time. But yeah, man, I love the Facebook groups if they're done the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think very well said. Very well said. I agree with everything you said. And you hit it right on the head. There are so many groups that they, the whole idea, right, with Facebook groups is give, then ask for, to run it successfully and for it to be a good community. And so many people, like, they flip it, they ask, then maybe give a little bit, or maybe they don't even give at all. And, you can see the difference in those. You can, like, first off, they never grow. They never grow, they die, they become stagnant. People just lose interest. Whereas like groups like ours, and I'm not in your group anymore, but like when I was, groups like yours, it's organic. Like for us, we had like 350 to 400 organic posts a month, all getting comments on, all that kind of thing. And like it's bigger. Like I've always said about our group, especially now, it's bigger than me now. It's bigger than just me. Like, and there's no way I can read everything myself. It's impossible.
Right.
Like, we have other admins now. We have moderators. We have staff that are moderators. We have, we have a team of people to monitor the group now. And it's hilarious to kind of hear about people that you have thrown out of the group, because it makes me think back and reflect back to myself, like, especially when we started the group, when people didn't know who I was, and they're like, oh, this guy's got like, there's this young kid starting a group. He's got this little agency and he's got like 300-400 members. I can kind of take advantage. I can kind of like because I work for an FMO or this status or anything. And what people learned real fast is I did not give a fuck. I'd throw them out. I didn't care who they were. I would roast them, which I don't recommend if you're starting a group, but I did it in the early days. And so many huge name people in the Medicare space that have been banned from our group. And like, I'll talk to people and they'll be like, what do you think about this person? I'm like, that person did this and we kicked him out of the group. They're like, oh, I had no idea. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it happened. It's history at this point. Yeah. But yeah, I want to be respectful of your time, Tracy. I could keep you on here probably another hour or two. There's so many things that we could talk about, but I do want to talk about your course and your paid group. Talk a little bit about both of those, if you would. Like, what kind of training and kind of value are you guys providing to the people that sign up for the course, sign up for the paid group, and where can people learn more about it?
Sure. So I want to throw some context in here. Christian said that he's not in the group anymore earlier. Yes, I did kick Christian out of my group. So what we did was
understood. I wasn't upset. I wasn't butthurt about it.
It was actually a good thing for you because it's less of a distraction.
It's true. I'm in too many. I'm in way too many groups.
Yeah, I had to leave a bunch of them myself. So what we did was, we grew the group to around 5,000 members. I actually don't remember, somewhere in the 4,500 to 5,000, and we really made it into a database, right? With all that good information that's shared and knowledge and just resources. There's this little thing in the Facebook group called a search engine, and you can go search topics, right? Which agents seem to not know that's possible. And when you have that, it makes your group seriously like an amazing database. Like, I already know in yours, I could go type almost anything about Medicare and I'll find multiple posts on it, right?
Yep. 100%.
How much value is in that, right? So much value. There's so much value that it's invaluable that you have this awesome database. So that's what we started to realize. And we wanted to make sure that the people who understood how much time we put into it respected that. And I, at the time, wasn't selling a course. I still don't recruit, although we do contract agents when it fits. So it was like, why am I spending so much time on this? Again, going to like events. This is doing nothing for me, right? Like literally nothing. It was an ego play. And that was it. Is that it was cool. I was stroking my own ego. That's it. That's all it was for. So I'm like, all right, I need to have other people respect my time. And if I'm going to put time into people, if I charge $20 for it, then it's not worth my time if I got some people that stay, right? And when I changed it to be subscription based, and it's $20 and it gets you more than just that, which I'll get into in a sec. I knew the attrition rate would be bad. I figured around 90%. It was like 98%. So I think we have 170 members in there now. So we went from 5,000 to 170, which totally fine because the 170 people that are in there, every single one of them is active, right? So the numbers, the ego, it was kind of like an ego check for me. At first, it was like, well, this kind of sucks that I had thousands of people that didn't respect my time. But now it's like, man, this is really great. It's just so much less stress. So with our group, it's a subscription. It comes with our academy. So I created a training academy called the Annuity Giants Agents Academy. You can go to theannuitygiants with an S.com. Some butthole took annuitygiants.com. Still don't know who. Bought it like 2 weeks before I was going to purchase it. Anyways. So you can go on that website, you can sign up for it. And what you get is you get access to the first level of our course, which is the pro version. So the pro version comes with weekly training, all of the recordings of previous week training, and then a document section. These documents are all documents that we customize that help you sell. So they're going to be point of sale documents as well as agent documents. They're going to be white paper studies, fact finders, everything you can think of. Okay. And they're all customized. We made them all. And then you get the Facebook group. Okay. All for $20. Okay. There's the Pro Plus version. The Pro Plus version gets you all of that. Not to mention you get an A to Z video library series on my sales system that I use to produce millions of dollars a year. And then you get what's called our e-courses library. E-courses library has recordings with me and clients and prospects all the way from our first meetings all the way to closing, my proposals, everything. It's going to have breakdowns of me talking about sales concepts, all sorts of stuff. There's hundreds of hours of content, and you get that as well. And that's $197. And then we just launched this last week a leads program in CRM. So we partnered with a guy that was in the financial space that was already doing a lot of it. And we used this system and said, well, this is good, but it also sucks. We want to change it. We want to change it from the perspective of I'm a producer and you're not, you're a marketer. How do we put those two things together and create a system that agents can plug and play into? Good training. So now with the Pro Plus version, it's an extra, kind of confusing here. It's an extra $100. So it's $297, and you get my entire training platform and group, plus a new video series of the CRM and lead system. And you get to watch me go through the entire system, all the way from discovery call to video strategy sessions to proposals to closing with clients. So we have it all recorded. So you can see exactly what I say, how we do things, all the way down to leaving voicemails to people. And then you get the CRM. The CRM itself is a go high level version. It's $300. It's an additional $300. So you're now at $597. It's a $300 startup cost. So that's now you're at $897. And then whatever your ad spend is after that. So we essentially have built it out in a way where you plug and play into a funnel. And so ad spend we recommend is about $50 a day, and it's generating about $100 or 100 leads a month right now. So for a total all-in cost minus your startup cost, it's around $2,000 a month. For $2,000 a month, you can generate about 100 annuity leads. So to give you an example, with my system over the last 2 months, I've spent like $6,000, $5,000, and I've closed 2.6 million. So that's roughly, let's call it 150,000 in commission. So
Strong.
not bad for $5,000.
Strong.
So if I
Very
can do
strong.
it, you can do it because you have all the tools. And that's kind of how we built it out.
Guys, we'll drop a link that, by the way, to Tracy's site on that down in the description of this video. And if you're watching if you're listening on the podcast platform, check the notes on any platform you're listening on. Should be able to find it there as well. But yeah, go check that out. And maybe you are doing annuities and struggling with it, or maybe maybe you're doing all right with annuities and you want to do it even bigger, or maybe you're not doing it at all and you want to add it to your repertoire. Go check it out. Tracy's the man.
Yeah.
When it comes to this. So
yeah, we have from start to finish. So it doesn't matter if you're brand new or if you are somebody who's doing 40 million a year. We have those producers in here, and every single time we have a new one, they always tell me, I'm learning, and you're never too big to learn. So yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this, and thank you for all the value. And yeah, we'll have to do one of these again soon. It's always fun. It's always fun when we get to chop it up.
It is. I appreciate it. It's good to see you again.
Always. Guys, if you made it to the end, thank you first off for watching all the way to the end. If you like this type of video, like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks, everybody.